is up, y'all? It is Pigeon Pirate, and I am back again with another MSI preview. And today, we're going to be talking about Infinity Esports from Latin America's LLA. So, let's just jump right into it. Their top laner is Bugax, their jungler is Solid Snake, mid laner is Cody, their bottom laner is White Lotus, and their support is Ackerman, and they are coached by Coach Vaughn. So, if the name Infinity Esports sounds familiar to you, it's likely because you remember them from their Worlds run back in 2018. So, that was the only time this organization has been on the world stage, and this is their first time being back since. However, in that world stage in 2018, they did actually have a pretty solid performance. They were able to beat both Edward Gaming from China as well as G2 from Europe. They were able to take a game off of each of them. And although they didn't qualify to make it into the official world stage because they were doing the strange kind of knockout stage in that world, uh, they still had a really good showing against some of the best players and best organizations in the entire world. So they represented Latin America really well when they went to Worlds previously, and they're definitely hoping to do it again here at MSI in 2021. So at the time, they had almost an entirely different roster. The only person that has stayed the entire time since then is their jungler Solid Snake. But this time, they've got a different roster that's really looking to make a splash. So, how did they end up making it here to MSI in 2021? Well, in order to analyze the regular season, we first kind of have to explain how the regular season works in the LLA because it works a lot differently there than it does in basically every other league around the world. So, the way that it works in LLA is they have 8 teams that play an initial double round robin over 7 weeks. So, all 8 of those teams are going to play each other twice. And over those 7 weeks, for every win that you get, you earn a point. So, say you get 8 wins, you get 8 points over that amount of time. Then, after those 7 weeks, if there are tiebreakers that need to be played, they'll play those tiebreakers. And then the bottom 3 teams actually drop off. And so they get eliminated. They're not gone from the league, but they're no longer going to play in the rest of the regular season. Then in week 8, over that last and final week, the top 5 teams then play a single round robin against all of each other. So all 5 of those teams play 4 different games across those 2 days in the weekend. And every win that you get in those games, you get 2 points. So if you won 2 games, then you get 4 points. Then they add together the total points from each of those little mini splits together, and then your point total will dictate how you place in the actual playoffs. And the playoffs are 4 team playoffs that are played out gauntlet style. So if you're the number 1 seed, you automatically make it to the grand finals. If you're the third or the fourth seed, you have to win 3 different matches or series in a row in order to be crowned the champion. So that's essentially how the season actually breaks down in the LLA. And then to explain how Infinity did in that first set of that first double round robin over the 7 weeks, they went 10-4, and so that put them in second place. They're only 1 point and 1 game shy of uh, Furious Gaming, who was the number 1 seed at that time, and so they make it into that second group of playing. And in that second group of playing, they actually go 2-2. But basically, so does Furious Gaming. And then the team below them, the All Knights, go 3-1. So where that essentially put them is they ended up with 14 points. Furious Gaming had 15, so they became the number 1 seed. And the team All Knights had 14 points as well. But because both Infinity Esports and All Knights had 14 points, it came down to their head to head record that Infinity Gaming actually had the 2-1 lead over. So, Infinity Gaming qualified into the playoffs being the number 2 seed. So, over the course of that regular season, though, obviously some awards had to be given out. And so, out of the all pro leagues, so who the best players at each position, both White Lotus won it for 80 carries, and Ackerman won it for supports. And Ackerman also won the most outstanding rookie of the split. So, those two guys really did a tremendous amount of caring for their team. And it's especially impressive when you look at every other award given out, every pro team, coaching award, the MVP, every single one of those awards were dominated by Furious Gaming players. So it's especially impressive that those two were able to stand out in the face of what seemed like such a dominant team in Furious Gaming. So they win those awards, and White Lotus actually held the record of getting the most Player of the Game awards throughout the entire split. So he won the Player of the Game 5 times, and the next closest, tied amongst a bunch of different people, had 4 games. So White Lotus was actually a standout in that sense. So regardless, make it to the playoffs, number 2 seed. So in the playoffs, the All Knights, being the 3 seed, have to take on Rainbow Seven as the number 4 seed. And Rainbow Seven, you might recognize the name. They were the world representatives from last year from the LLA. So those guys have a best of 5 series that the All Knights win 3-1. So then they go on to face Infinity Esports, where Infinity Esports ends up beating them, going 3-1 in that series. And so then Infinity goes on to play Furious Gaming for the grand finals. As predicted, most people think Furious Gaming is going to win this because they've got the best coaches, a majority of the best players aside from their bottom lane. It looks like, and they have the best record, so it looks like they're probably going to be able to win this series. And they start off going 2-0, but Infinity Esports are able to pull off the reverse sweep, coming back and winning the series 3-2. And all the while, White Lotus, their 80 carry, wins MVP of that series. So that's how Infinity Esports ends up making it to the Worlds through, quite frankly, a pretty tough schedule and a lot of fighting, but really off the backs of some amazing players. And without surprise, that's exactly where we're going. So, what makes this team so good? It's really not a surprise here. It all centers around their bottom lane. Uh, their bottom lane, between Ackerman and White Lotus, they like to win lane. They play aggressive picks and they try to win. And if it's not by getting solo kills or 2v2 outplays, which they do quite frequently, uh, it's by building really tremendous CS advantages. If you watch their finals against Furious Gaming, you'll see basically around the map, they seem to be losing, except in bottom lane. They're either up in kills or significantly up in CS throughout the entirety of the series, even in the games that they lose. And so they're constantly trying to build and carry for both dominance early and then carrying later on through that bottom lane. And they're able to do so. And so we really have to highlight the individual players that make that possible. So first and foremost, we got to talk about the rookie Ackerman. This guy likes to play really aggressive, engaged champions. So his 3 most played champions in the split by far were Rel, Alistar, and Thresh. And on these champions that he really likes to go in on, he was able to maintain the best KDA in the entire league at 8.2, and this is amongst any players. He had the most assists in the entire league. He had the highest kill participation in the entire league, and he had the lowest death percentage among supports in the entire league. So what this is essentially saying is this guy plays aggressive and he knows when to fight. He's able to try to win lane and then engage in big team fights, but he's not doing it in a manner that seems reckless or absolutely crazy. Uh, in teams like Detonation Focus Me or the Istanbul Wildcats, even though those guys like to play incredibly aggressive, a lot of times it's at the detriment of their team where they're just picking fights with the idea that they can simply outplay mechanically their opponents. Whereas what it feels like when watching Infinity Esports, they're picking these fights and engaging really hard on these fights because they know that they can win it. They've put themselves in a position where they have the advantage either through their warding or through their positioning. through the way their lanes are pushing, or just because they're at a stronger point in the game than their opponents. And so oftentimes it's able to work out really heavily in their favor. So it's not just that he's playing with a lot of aggression, he's playing with very smart aggression, which I think is really where he stands out as a support. Um, and then that brings us to the AD carry and really the star of Infinity Esports, who's White Lotus. Now, this is the first time since I'm kind of starting at the pool D and moving my way up through the teams. This is the first time while doing my preparation and watching the VODs for all these teams that I've watched a player and thought, wow, this guy, he is world class. And I don't just mean like he belongs at MSI. A lot of the players in every single team that I've highlighted throughout this entire series deserves to be here at MSI, but White Lotus deserves to be talked about on the international stage, the same way that people would talk about Double Lift or Perks or some of these players. Yeah, he probably doesn't belong in quite that category, but he at least deserves to have his name mentioned when talking about some of the best players and best 80 carries in the world because he is that good. When you watch him play, he's not just winning lane and dominating the lane against these opponents by getting solo kills, getting 2v2 outplays, getting major CS leads throughout the game, but he's being incredibly smart and tactical with the way he's able to do it and the way he's able to transition that to really hard carries late game. If you watch these final series against um if you watch their finals against I'm blanking on the name, Furious Gaming, you can see just how hard he's able to carry. He builds leads early on, but then plays the team fights later in the game so incredibly well. He's kiting insane. He's positioning himself well. He's ulting in Kai'Sa and then flashing out to draw out ultimates and then going back in even harder to get the kills and clean up afterwards. It's really incredible to watch him play, and it's very obvious as to why he won so many Player of the Game awards and won the MVP of the playoffs. Because he's just hard carrying his teams, and uh, he's there's a reason that whenever White Lotus is on a team, that team seems to do really well for Latin America. This guy's been to MSI in 2017, Worlds in 2017, and MSI in 2018, and now he's going back to MSI here in 2021. So he's been a mainstay stay at the world stage, and all of his stats are backing it up and suggesting that he's getting even better. He's got the best KDA for 80 carries. He's got the highest first blood rate for 80 carries, and it's not even close. It's over double, or it's almost double what it is than from any other 80 carry in the league. He's getting over double the gold difference at 10 for the other 80 carries in the league. He's got the best experience difference at 10 in the league, and he's got the least amount of deaths too in the entire league for 80 carries. So it's not just the fact that he's hard carrying these games, getting these massive leads, getting these great kills, but he's not throwing them away either. He's not having this untapped aggression where he's just diving in over and over and getting these insane damage and kill numbers. He's getting these leads and then playing so well and so smart with them that he can just carry his team out from any type of deficit that they're in or really snowball any type of lead that they're building. And it's really cool to watch him play and how he affects the rest of his team. And so when you look at how the team as a whole functions, it's really based off of that game plan of get the bottom lane ahead. And so what you'll typically see happen is the jungler, um, Solid Snake, he typically spends a lot of time bot lane. Even though he likes to affect the map in a lot of different ways, his stats are nothing impressive, and he's mostly just making sure that bottom lane is there and he can either gank for them or counter gank if somebody else is trying to uh, put them down. And so he's playing around them, and because of this, the Infinity Esports has the best KDA as a team. They've got the third best early rating, but also the third best mid to late game rating. They're definitely in the top three in the league in the warding numbers, and they've got the second best dragon control in the league. So they're really just playing out the games around the idea that if we can get bottom lane stable and ahead and get them snowballing, they can carry us late, or we can just ride their backs if we're behind and let them do their thing until they get to such a strong power spike that their team fighting and decision making later in the game will be able to climb them out of any deficit that they have. And so it's really fun to watch. And to me, White Lotus is one of those guys that I am so excited to see what he can do on the international stage because I really do believe he's going to pop off in a way that's special for these emerging regions. So, how do I actually think that all this is going to work out for Infinity Esports? Well, as much as I'm talking them up and hyping up their bot lane, it's a bummer that they're in Group C because I just don't see them getting better than third. I think they're significantly better than Detonation Focus Me, so I do think that they'll probably be able to beat them in both their games, but I just don't see them beating Damwon Gaming or Cloud9. Damwon, they're probably the best team in the entire world, and Cloud9, I think, is the best team that NA has ever sent to a world competition. But I'll cover that more once I actually get to their MSI preview. So, what I likely think will happen is they're just going to get third, but they're going to be a solid third team. And I think White Lotus, especially, and Ackerman as well, they're going to get some recognition on the world stage. They're going to show what they can do, and I think both against C9 and Damwon, they're going to have some games where they look dangerous. And I think it's going to be incredibly entertaining and fun to watch. But we'll see. It's MSI, so anything can happen. So if you agree, disagree, think I'm an idiot, whatever it might be, just leave me a comment down below telling me, and I really look forward to reading them. And I look forward to continue doing these series as we get closer and closer to MSI. So thanks for watching, and I really appreciate it. Thanks.